Welcome to our US Briefing Show. Today, we're diving into some compelling stories from around the globe and across the United States. First up, we look back at the 10 days of intense protests in 2020 following George Floyd's tragic death. Despite the pandemic, millions worldwide showed resilience, demanding justice with marches, kneelings, and powerful slogans like "I can't breathe." The protests highlighted both conflict and unity, and even 5 years later, debates about police reform continue to stir controversy. Next, we turn to Malaysia, where Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim defends extending the tenure of anti-corruption chief Azam Baki. Azam has been investigating top figures, including former Prime Minister Mahathir, which has sparked controversy and concerns about integrity, especially after a witness was abducted. Anwar praises Azam's bravery, hinting that challenging the powerful isn't easy but necessary. Finally, we look at the US and California's ongoing fight over clean car standards. Recent votes in Congress threaten to overturn strict emissions rules, potentially delaying efforts to combat climate change. This move has environmental groups worried, as it could slow down progress toward zero-emission vehicles by 2035. All in all, these stories remind us that politics, justice, and environmental efforts are constantly evolving and affecting us all. Please continue to watch for more detailed insights. The AP photos vividly recounts the intense and relentless protests that erupted across the United States in the 10 days following George Floyd's tragic death in 2020. As footage of Floyd's final moments circulated widely, a wave of outrage and solidarity swept through cities, suburbs, and small towns, with thousands marching, kneeling, and holding signs bearing Floyd's face and the words, "Black Lives Matter." Despite the ongoing pandemic, demonstrators showed unwavering resolve, some confronting police in riot gear, others kneeling in solidarity, exemplified by a powerful image of a black police officer and a black protester clasping hands amid a tense standoff in New York City. These images encapsulate a moment of profound societal upheaval, where the collective demand for justice and racial equality was impossible to ignore, and the movement's resilience persisted in the face of adversity. The South China Morning Post details Malaysia's political landscape, highlighting Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim's defense of extending the tenure of Azam Baki, the head of the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission, MAC. Anwar praises Azam's bravery for targeting powerful figures embroiled in corruption, emphasizing that this is a rare occurrence in Malaysia's history. The decision to prolong Azam's service, beyond the typical retirement age, has sparked public debate about governance and accountability, especially considering recent investigations into prominent political adversaries, including former Prime Minister Mahathir Mohamad. The controversy deepened with the shocking abduction of witness Pamela Ling by individuals in police uniform, raising concerns about the integrity of the anti-corruption efforts and the rule of law in Malaysia. Yahoo US explores the contentious political battle over vehicle emission standards, focusing on the US Senate's recent vote to overturn California's strict clean car regulations, which could undermine similar policies in states like New Mexico. California's Advanced Clean Cars 2 regulation aims for all new vehicles to be zero-emission by 2035, a goal supported by several Democratic-led states striving to combat climate change. However, the recent legislative action, expected to be signed by President Trump, halts these efforts by revoking waivers that allowed California to set more rigorous standards, threatening to reverse progress in reducing transportation-related pollution. The vote reflects broader challenges faced by states and manufacturers, with some delaying or limiting the sale of electric vehicles due to infrastructure and supply chain issues, while governors and environmental advocates vow to continue pushing for cleaner transportation despite federal setbacks. South China Morning Post highlights that the recent US-China trade truce, marked by an agreement to temporarily ease tariffs and establish a dialogue framework, signifies a victory not just for either nation but for globalization itself. In a world where supply chains and financial systems are deeply interconnected, economic nationalism faces insurmountable limits. This détente demonstrates that despite the battering of global trade, the foundational principles remain resilient. The US, a major beneficiary of globalization, has faced internal challenges like inequality and policy neglect, which fueled protectionist tendencies under Trump's administration. His aggressive tariffs aimed at China and other competitors, akin to ripping out cables in a chaotic server room, failed to recognize the structural strength of global networks, ultimately causing economic backlash for both nations, disrupted supply chains, inflation, and volatile markets. The lesson is clear: internal issues cannot be solved through protectionism, and the mutually beneficial relationship with China remains vital, emphasizing that globalization endures even amidst political turbulence. Nikkei Asia reports on Japan's diplomatic efforts to reach a trade agreement with the US amid escalating tensions. Japanese negotiator Ryoshi Ayakazawa describes the recent talks as more candid and in-depth, with both sides recognizing Japan's significant contribution to the US economy. Despite the US's imposition of tariffs, Japan advocates for their removal, emphasizing the importance of a mutually beneficial deal. The negotiations are set against a backdrop of strained relations, with Trump's tariffs on imports from Japan and other countries, and the looming possibility of auto and sector-specific tariffs remaining in place. Japanese leaders are eager to find a resolution, especially regarding the 25% tariffs on cars and auto parts, which threaten their economic interests. While the US aims to maintain tariffs on national security grounds, Japan's unwavering stance is to eliminate these barriers, even considering strategic compromises. The upcoming G7 summit provides a critical opportunity for these nations to bridge differences and forge a path toward a more balanced trade relationship. South China Morning Post discusses President Trump's ambitious yet challenging plan to bring iPhone manufacturing back to the US, confronting numerous legal and technological hurdles. Trump's threat of a 25% tariff on iPhones not made domestically aims to revive American jobs, but experts warn that automating the tiny screws in iPhones is a complex, perhaps decade-long endeavor requiring advanced robotics not yet available. The legal framework, the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, could be exploited to impose company-specific tariffs, but such measures risk violating established norms and provoking legal battles. Even if tariffs are enacted, the economic costs for consumers would be significant, with iPhone prices potentially soaring well beyond current levels. Analysts emphasize that transforming iPhone production into a US-based process is a fairy tale, and the practical realities, costs, technological limitations, and supply chain disruptions render the plan largely infeasible, underscoring the complexity of reshoring high-tech manufacturing in a globalized economy. The Australian Broadcasting Corporation vividly captures the intense online warfare between India and Pakistan during the Kashmir crisis, where the battleground extends far beyond physical borders into the digital realm. Fake videos, AI-generated images, and recycled footage flooded social media platforms like X, WhatsApp, Facebook, and YouTube, fueling nationalist fervor and misinformation. For example, a fabricated AI image claimed to show Rawalpindi Stadium in ruins, while a manipulated video falsely depicted Pakistani military officials admitting defeat, all designed to sway public perception and stoke war sentiments. Disinformation campaigns employed sophisticated deepfakes, nearly perfect AI-created videos, that aim to undermine morale, such as a doctored clip suggesting Pakistan lost fighter jets, which was convincingly made to look authentic with perfect lip-syncing. These false narratives, amplified by verified users and even mainstream media, blurred the lines between truth and fiction, leading to panic, hate speech, and genocidal threats in both nations. Old footage was repurposed to falsely portray military victories or attacks, further fueling chaos, while humorous counter-memes emerged from Pakistan to mock the misinformation, highlighting the complex interplay of propaganda and public sentiment. Despite efforts by fact-checkers and social media platforms to curb the flood of falsehoods, the scale of disinformation overwhelmed verification systems, with platforms like X failing to effectively flag or remove misleading posts, exposing the vulnerability of digital information warfare in modern conflicts. Meanwhile, Yahoo US reports on the Pentagon's recent crackdown on press freedom amid a surge of leaks and classified disclosures under Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. The new restrictions, described as the most severe in decades, confine credentialed reporters to a single corner of the Pentagon's press area, requiring escorts to access other parts of the building, including sensitive zones like the Joint Chiefs offices. This move appears to be a punitive response to the persistent leaks of unclassified and classified information, ranging from personal stories to strategic military plans, including controversial details about U.S. military operations in Panama. Hegseth's efforts to tighten control also involved ejecting major news outlets and firing top aides, yet leaks continue unabated, casting doubt on whether these measures will succeed. Critics argue that these restrictions threaten press freedom and transparency, likening them to the limited access at the White House, but with even more stringent controls. The Pentagon's approach reflects a broader struggle to balance national security and the public's right to information, amidst an environment where leaks and internal disclosures have become a persistent challenge to military openness and accountability. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6-2 Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6-2 team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6-2 Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6-2 Brief via email.
News breaks, buzz the ground, stories spin, walls come down, voices merge in the sound, faces mix in the crowd, broadcasters paint the scene, world events on our screen, every link a different theme, words collide in the stream, 6 degrees connect the dots, background stories more than us. Hear the voices rise aloud, truth unveils in every spot, cultures clash across the globe, spin the threads in a strobe, every story wears a robe, truth and lies in their code, journalists dig real deep, secrets out, they don't sleep, every angle they will keep. In the news we take a leap, new perspectives day by day, hidden truths come to play, in the background shades of gray, every story finds its way. New perspectives day by day.